Okay, good. It's like I was reading, so it's like if I'd not picked up on something.
And welcome to the WAN Show, ladies and gentlemen, the only show where we talk tech news maybe, I don't know, 15, 20% of the time, even though it's allegedly a tech news show.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really wanted tech news, you would go watch Tech Linked anyway. I mean, this guy, he doesn't even work in, like, review tech media anymore. He's always on here shilling his plan float.
Go subscribe to Floatplate.
We've got a great show for you guys today. The Apple Silicon M1 reviews are coming out, and it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Which is the exact opposite of what I said, apparently.
Yeah, you flamed it pretty hard. You said it was guaranteed to be terrible. You said the whole architecture from the ground up was just garbage.
I did say that, didn't I?
It's a really inflammatory video.
Could you get me the timestamps for where I said that in the video, please, while I go through the rest of the great topics we're going to have today? Now we've got a problem. AMD's Radeon RX 6800 series has launched. Sort of. Talk about that in a bit. What else we got?
Apple drops App Store fees. Sort of. We'll also talk about that a bit later.
We've got a lot of sort of, don't we? And that one affects Luke personally.
It does.
And now it's personal.
Yeah, dun dun dun. Also, no one is safe. YouTube is adding more ads, including to channels that are not able to turn on monetization. And we'll talk more about how that works later on.
Dang it, are my fill rates gonna go down? Well, this sucks. Gosh darn it, YouTube. Now I'm so mad that I could just roll the intro.
So that fill rates are less important than if you couldn't roll the intro, you know?
Okay, I'm confused. There's settings in here on YouTube. I actually forgot to enable live chat, but it's definitely enabled. And I did remember to enable slow mode, but that does not appear to be enabled. So I don't
YouTube live streaming is perfect.
I don't really know how that works, but that's okay, because it doesn't matter anymore. Let's go ahead and kick off with our first topic today. This was posted by Random Kid on the forums. Reviews are beginning to trickle in about the new Macs based on Apple's M1 SoC. And so far, the verdict, even among those who weren't given advanced samples, is pretty positive. The common factor all reviewers are talking about is just how cool the chips run. Anthony came to me actually within probably about an hour and a half of getting his hands on with the Mac Mini, and he was like, the fan doesn't turn on. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Hey! While the MacBook Air does thermal throttle, it is apparently not a significant hindrance. That's something that Anthony has definitely been working on as well. Unfortunately, some of the tools that we rely on for measuring things like CPU power states and clock speeds and all that kind of stuff don't exist, because some of them are Intel specific tools that run specifically on Intel processors. And unlike on the PC, where there's sort of like, you know, diagnostic utilities for absolute days, many of which are community supported or open source. On the Mac, there's not a whole lot. So when something really fundamental changes like this, it can take a little bit of time for, for anything to kind of come out that allows you to dig into it. Fortunately, though, you can measure performance at the very least. We do have a thermal camera, so there are definitely things that we can do. And so far, it's looking pretty good. The Mac Mini and MacBook Pro rarely, if ever, even have to ramp up their fans in order to reach maximum performance, and don't seem to suffer from any thermal throttling. That was actually something that, if I recall correctly, I speculated, but since everything that I say about Macs is automatically wrong, don't think I'll be getting any credit for that. I think what I said was perhaps the difference between the Mac The MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro is, in terms of performance, is not necessarily going to be, core configuration or clock speeds or anything like that, but rather just cooling solution and then just allowing it to throttle if you're doing something that's an extended load. Anantech shows the M1 outperforming Intel's Tiger Lake mobile processors, which are their latest, and says that the M1 in its maximum performance design with a small fan is quote unquote astoundingly good, with software support on day one looking good due to Rosetta 2. I was really impressed with Rosetta 2's ability to just take OBS, which it is amazing the kind of criticism that I faced over that video. It was like, people were like, what kind of benchmark is OBS? OBS is a benchmark of, here's a random utility that's pretty niche.
A lot of people, yeah.
That does not have a native version for M1, and I'm gonna just install it and see what happens. And I'm gonna screen capture and encode video. And
it's a very industry. It's definitely niche, but it is a very industry tool. It is used by almost everyone that does things that OBS could be used for.
So it's like, what kind of a benchmark is that? I don't know, interesting one. Sorry. So Rosetta 2, for those not familiar, is Apple's x86 emulation layer that allows Apple Silicon Macs to run software that has not yet been optimized for the new hardware. Now, typically, this incurs a massive performance penalty. So if you look at something like, emulation, even emulating a GameCube game, you need a PC that is many times more powerful than a GameCube to play Spider-Man or whatever. So clearly what Apple's doing is not emulation in a traditional sense. What they're doing is, what is it, on the fly, binary translation or something like that? I forget what the actual term is. But it's, if I recall correctly, it's like a type of emulation. But what's really interesting is it seems like they have some kind of hardware acceleration for it. So let me see if I can find the source for this. Dun, 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 dun. Due to the memory model mismatch, you have to straight up implemented the x86 consistency model on their cores. That's kind of high in detail, that emulation performance for a different architecture. That's really freaking cool. So they actually baked in features that are going to make it way better at emulating x86. So other ARM devices would have to fully translate load store commands.
Binary translation. Yeah,
from x86 to ARM compatible functions due to a memory model mismatch, but M1 is able to do it without this extra translation step. So while we might expect to see a fraction, literally a fraction, 1/5, 1/10 of the performance with traditional emulation, here we're seeing anywhere from as high as 80+% of the native performance. And then I think I'm going from memory here, so unfortunately I might be wrong, but I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 55, the 50 to 60% range, which is pretty darn impressive. That makes Apple M1 the only ARM SoC that's capable of emulating x86 so efficiently at this time. As good as Rosetta 2 is reported to be, though, obviously, Universal Binary 2 is Apple's preferred method, which will allow you to go on the App Store, and regardless of what kind of a Mac you have an x86 Mac, you've got an ARM Mac, doesn't matter. You just get the app and it runs natively on your machine. So far, developers have been releasing updated versions of their software at a steady pace. Google Chrome, it went out and then there was a problem, so they pulled it, but now it's back, as my understanding, unless it's been pulled again. And there's a beta version of Handbrake that is, along with Google Chrome, among the early releases. A new version of Pixelmator includes support for the Neural Engine to perform some pretty incredible upscaling. Check this out. So this is posted by Anthony Dumas over on Twitter. Hey, there it is. Look at that. Left is Pixelmator machine learning upscale. Right is standard bilinear from a 121 by 180 image. That's pretty cool. You can see it. There's a much more
sharper,
much better looking gradient, way sharper lines. This text looks really good, actually. Wow, that is pretty cool. Now, obviously, it's not perfect. I probably got people being like, oh, yeah, look at this, it's horrible. And in some places, this really does end up looking better. Like the way the shadow under his belly kind of meets up in his armpit here. Same with the shadow under the armpit. But the difference is that this, with a little bit of cleanup, is going to look better than this with a lot of cleanup. That's the difference. Neither of them is giving you a perfect result out of the box, but that's not really the intent. Now, our review of any Apple Silicon device is yet to be finalized, but early results are both promising and a little surprising, even after reading other reviews, says Anthony Young. So that's a note from him on the end of the notes here. We are getting into, man, it's like, it's a flippin' rabbit hole. It's like, the challenge is, if you get access to the, people ask like why it matters. I posted a tweet a little while ago complaining that we didn't have a PlayStation 5 before launch. And people were like, oh, you spoiled piece of crap. Why should you get a free PlayStation when other people have to wait for it and pay for it? You should just wait your turn. It's like, how do I explain this in a way that you can understand? I don't want a PlayStation. I don't care. I haven't owned a PlayStation since the PlayStation 2. It means nothing to me. Like if I wanted to play a PlayStation game, I would borrow a PlayStation and play it, and then I would not need to own it anymore. Like it's not the kind of thing that I use regularly. The reason that I want a PlayStation is so I can do my job, so I can do it properly, so that instead of being put in a position where I am forced to choose between getting way less viewership on the content or phoning in the content and rushing it, I don't have to do that. If I have access to the hardware early, in the case of the PlayStation, would have happily bought it early. If I have access to the hardware early, then what it does is it makes it so that I can be well informed on the topic, you know, being able to talk to Sony like, hey, what are you expecting to be good about this? What are you expecting to be not so good about this? Here's what we found. Does this jive with what you're seeing in your lab? That kind of dialogue is really important to make sure that we've got the correct story for you guys. The other thing is, well, actually, yeah, that's like really, really important. Right. The other thing is that we produce video, not written articles. So we can't just like bang something out. Yes, people often forget this. We can't just bang something out in an afternoon. It's actually not an option. We have to test it. We have to script. We have to film it. We have to edit it. We have to export it. We have to upload it. We have to make sure it actually all still works. I mean, we've seen it before. You upload a perfectly good video file to YouTube and it's broken when you go to try and watch it. So that's why it is so important. So what happens then is if you don't have access to something early, you're put in the position where either you need to release a piece of content that's not as good, or you need to release one that's really good. So Anthony is digging into like everything. We're talking, there's complaints about multi-monitor support. Some of reviews have covered this pretty well. Others didn't touch on it at all. But one of the limitations of the M1 Silicon Max is that you can only have one display connected to one of the Thunderbolt ports. The other one needs to be on HDMI. That's something that's not a game breaker by any stretch of the imagination, but it's something people might not realize, and it's definitely good to know. What are some of the other little like kind of idiosyncrasies that we've noticed and that are looking into? I don't know.
While you think about that, something I would say as well is like if you want reviewers to get things early as well.
Of course.
Because if reviewers get it early, they will have more time to hopefully be able to make a better video. And if reviewers can make a better video and you have more reviewers to cross-reference with, and hopefully you are able to trust the mass amount of reviewers that you are able to reference, you should be able to make a much more informed purchasing decision, which should hopefully be able to either save you money or make you more confident and happy with the purchase that you do make. It is directly beneficial, and it should help. I would think the majority of the audience watching would be against pre-orders in general. This helps the whole idea of wanting to have something early but not wanting to pre-order it, because you can go into the purchase more confidently that way.
So I don't know. It's one of those things where to me it's very confusing when people take the position that we should just take the manufacturer's word for it, because how many times has that not worked out well for us? The funny thing to me, and I'll probably get into this in more depth and certainly more eloquently in the Mac Mini review, which I think is going to be the one that comes first. The funny thing to me is that Apple didn't have to run their presentation that way. Like, I still stand behind everything I said about it. It was a really horrible way for them to launch this product. For the people that just take everything Apple says at face value, I guess it was fine because they loved it. But for the people that see unlabeled graphs and vague claims about performance, it was really discouraging. Because to me, my general experience is that the more confident a manufacturer is, the more willing they are to put hard numbers behind their product. When they're not confident, that's when they start bringing up unlabeled graphs and just kind of being like, yeah, it's way faster. It's 6 times. Because, I don't know, it's funny to me. With everything we've seen from M1 so far, we would have liked it just fine if they had just said what it actually was. If they had just come in and said, it's got anywhere from half to 80% of the performance on non-native x86 apps, I would have been blown away. I would have been like, that is so cool. Here, if they'd have been like, here's some apps, and here it is, tested, on a native binary versus an x86 one, and it's like, yeah, anywhere from 50 to 80%. I'd have been like, wow. But then when they come out and they're like, 6x the performance, my BS detector goes off hard, very hard. And it was so unnecessary. All they had to say was, yeah, it's got performance that is competitive with or better than basically any other laptop processor on the market. Seems like they kind of ignored AMD in a big way, which I thought was interesting, given that AMD has better low power mobile processors than Intel right now. Assuming you can find any to buy, which is...
Even if they do, they're not super mainstream yet.
Yeah, well, that's because they can't make enough.
But AMD right now, AMD gaming processors are popping off in the enthusiast space, and you are seeing a lot more like pre-build options with them and whatnot. But still, if you ask some random person that has no interest in computers, if you ask them what AMD is, they probably have no idea. If you ask them what Intel is, they almost certainly know. By the way, I'm getting feedback on multiple platforms right now that I am notably too loud.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I will fix that for you. Thank you very much, multiple platforms. There you go. Got that all fixed up for you. All right. So, I guess I don't really have anything else to say. A lot of people are expecting me to come out and say I was wrong. So far, I haven't been wrong about anything yet. The one bold prediction that I made was that Apple will drop support for these M1 processor Macs sooner than they will for the M2 or whatever they end up calling it, sooner than they will for their M2 Macs. And not just by a year, not by a product release cycle, but they will not support them for as long a period of time. I could end up being wrong about that, but we're going to have to wait anywhere from 3 to 5 to 6 years in order to find out. Everything else that I said, I stand behind. I have been attacked on many sides for calling the new M1 Max, and what did I call them? An iPad without a screen, an iPad without a touch screen, and then an iPad with a touch bar or something like that. And they're like, you don't understand. And I'm looking at it going, no, you don't understand. What's wrong with the iPad? Is the iPad bad? Are these people just projecting their internal, hate of the iPad on me, on my statement? What's wrong with the iPad? We've come out and said the only thing missing on the iPad is macOS. In positive reviews of the iPad. Our most recent iPad videos, the titles are, and these actually capture the sentiment of the video, I think, pretty well in this case. Sometimes our titles are a little like, hey, we really need you to click on this. So I search for iPad
We need to take this one home, boys.
Here's our last 2 videos about the iPad. Fine, the iPad Pro is a laptop. Magic keyboard review from 5 months ago. And also from 5 months ago, we edited this video on an iPad Pro. Those are our last videos about the iPad. Basically saying the iPad Pro is a laptop, and by the way, it's powerful. So when I call the Mac Mini an iPad without a screen, it's not a sick burn. It's just a joke. Like, chill the f out. What is wrong with you? You get so defensive. People were so mad that I quote unquote used Google Maps 3D view as a benchmark in my unboxing of the MacBook Air, the new MacBook Air. It was not a review. So many people called it a review. Are you that disconnected? You don't even understand what a review is anymore? Somebody opening a box is not a review. Lou from Unbox Therapy does not do reviews. It's an unboxing, it's impressions, it's thoughts, it's not a review. And also, what the hell is wrong with Google Maps 3D view as a way of evaluating quickly and easily if a thin and light is gonna chug in basic 3D tasks? I've seen it. If you have crappy onboard graphics, it sucks. The pop-in takes forever and it's slow to render.
So one of the commenters said, and I'm changing his statement slightly because I like it this way more, but you're reviewing the unboxing experience.
No, you're not. And if you are, it's not a review. Oh, it's
but honestly... what if it is? Because there's a lot of thought and money and research that goes into improving the unboxing experience. You have commented in the past on packaging materials,
which I also did in this case,
on included information in how things are, on the presentation of the product. You know, there was a while there with Logitech mice where like the box like hinged open and the mouse was like nicely presented up top. It was all beautiful and stuff. You've commented on those things. You have reviewed the unboxing experience.
Right, but that's not a review of the product. I feel like the review is kind of like dying, you know? Like, people don't even understand what is supposed to be a review and what isn't. And sometimes it even happens when people are defending me. Like, I did a sponsored video a little while ago about a product, and someone was like, okay, so there were two misunderstandings that I was reading in the comments here. So first, someone said, this review shouldn't be sponsored. And I was like, okay, so problem number one, nothing sponsored is ever a review. And then the second person defended me. They were like, Linus, oh, no, I remember a different video. So it was not a review. It was just like experiencing a thing. I think it was the RTX 3090 8K thing. So someone was like complaining. They were like, this review wasn't very thorough. And I was like, okay, well, it wasn't a review for one thing. It wasn't structured like a review. It wasn't positioned as a review. It wasn't called a review. The very fact that you think that this was intended to come across as a review means reviews must be kind of like dying. Like, when's the last time you saw a review of a product? A review has to be positive points, negative points, evaluating it from the point of view of either one niche, and you got to be kind of upfront about that, or from like a general use sort of standpoint where you look at it, try to look at it from different perspectives. You're analyzing a product. And then the defense of it was, this is someone defending my video. They're like, no, this was a really good review because everything Linus said was totally true about the product. And besides, who cares? He's got to get paid. It doesn't matter if a review is sponsored. Yes, it does. It absolutely matters if a review gets sponsored. If it is if it's not a review, it's not a review. That's step one. And if it's sponsored, it is not a review. Now, that doesn't mean that a sponsored video can't have good information about the product. And it doesn't mean that a sponsored video has to contain lies. We are very careful about it. When we do a sponsored video, we would never do a sponsored review. When we do a sponsored video, we make sure that if there's something about this product, some drawback that we feel is very important for our audience, we push back on the sponsors. We make sure that we can include it because people gotta know. Like, for example, the Oculus Quest video or Quest 2 video. We talked about how much of a bummer it is that the thing runs at 72 hertz, because it is. That's a bummer. We even included the mandatory Facebook account, and we were like, well, you guys got to make your own decisions about that, but this is something we can't sweep under the rug. This is something that we have to talk about. So just because it's sponsored doesn't mean that it can't have good information. In fact, the FTC guidelines stipulate that you're not allowed legally to say anything you don't actually believe in a sponsored video. Now, of course, I know for a fact that people do it anyway.
It happens, yeah.
But it's something that I personally take very seriously. It's just not a review. Anytime you see a sponsored video, you have to assume that a brand representative or representatives, and in many cases, a brand agency, has watched it and signed off on it. That's just part of the process. Now, that's not the case if we make a video about, let's say, this is a totally hypothetical scenario, unpacking and like reacting to a 6 terabyte memory server. And then it's like sponsored by Pulseway, and we do some Pulseway talking points. Totally not the same thing, because Pulseway, while they do have a software suite for managing and maintaining servers, has nothing to do with this particular server. You can use Pulseway on any server, like it's non-conflicting. These two things are related. So Pulseway might want to sponsor that video because they feel like, oh, anyone watching a server video might want to also know about Pulseway. But that's not like a conflict of interest in any way. It's only when you have the actual creator of the product sponsoring the content. So a perfect example of this would be something like Intel's video, where they sponsored our showcase, is what I would probably call that. Our first kind of use of their cryo cooler. That was not a review. I was not in a position to make my own judgment on the product. All I was doing was getting early access to the product, which, don't tell Intel this, but I would have like totally done it for free without a sponsorship, because I was like super stoked to try it out. So all I was doing was getting early access to the product and going through that review process with Intel, where they have to approve the content ultimately. Everything I said in that video was true. Every result we showed was one that we measured, but it was not a review. Yes, go ahead.
So we've got some naysayers in the audience, and I want to try to address some of their comments.
Sure, hit me.
Someone's pointing out with I think a few different people mentioned the Quest video. Apparently it was not titled as a showcase.
No, it wasn't titled as a showcase, but it also wasn't quite a showcase. One of the differences with the Quest video is that instead of just talking through the talking points, we were given a great degree of autonomy, and we were allowed to share our experiences with it in a very transparent manner. I was actually, I was kind of surprised, to be honest with you. So given that it wasn't really handicapped by the brand in any way, we went with a title that just didn't have anything in it. And we also didn't structure it or present it as though it was a review. We said, look, this is sponsored by Facebook. Here we go.
So do you think in what is your opinion of the audience not necessarily registering that things are reviews? Do you think that is on the viewer's side for maybe skimming too much or something like that? Or do you think that is potentially more the case of something like clickbait, or like, why do you think this is happening?
I think it's a combination of things. I think it's all three. I think consumers are getting either less discerning, or maybe they just never cared, but media cared enough to do a better job. So they just sort of had better information, because that's all that there was. So consumers seem to be more accepting of sponsored content and or marketing nonsense. I think that media has gone from being a profession, well, I mean, it's right in the word there. I think media has gone from being a profession, like one you go to school for, to one where just about anyone and their dog can build a following, regardless of how true anything they say is or how much they care about transparency and integrity. And I also think manufacturers are maybe not becoming less transparent, because lots of them have been plenty opaque over the years, but certainly taking advantage of this new advertising paradigm, where instead of them having to, pay an agency to create an ad and then run it on a network and check Nielsen ratings to see if it was effective and watch their sales. They can pretty much hire, you know, your tech bro to like tell you it's so cool, brah. And they're jumping on that. Before you ask me my next question, Travel Guys posted, I never had a problem with what you said about M1 till now, but you tried to make your point and said Surface Pro X was not covered by your channel, but you did cover it. You're right. I actually didn't realize that until someone pointed it out to me. Riley did that entire video. He scripted it, used the product, shot it. It was edited and uploaded to the channel without me ever actually seeing it. I did not know we covered it. So that is my bad. My bad. I should know if there's something that we've covered on the channel, especially if I'm going to make a point like we never covered it. I never saw it. I never touched it. So I didn't care about it at all. So that part, my main point that I just didn't care about it at all, still stands. Apparently Riley cared enough. Riley cared enough. Okay, what else you got? Hit me.
That's, I mean, there's a lot of comments, but I think they're mostly vague, and maybe I missed one, so sorry if you posted one that wasn't somewhat vague. But I think it's coming down to just a lot of people are finding that content is very similar.
Sure.
So hard to differentiate necessarily during the video, and that with the clickbaity nature of titles, and I don't necessarily think they are, and I wouldn't single Linus Media Group out for this. I think it's just like what the world has turned into, with the clickbaity nature that are titles on the internet as of now. Yep. I guess I would say it has become a little bit more difficult to,
you know what, that's fair,
to navigate that landscape.
We don't always put the word review in our reviews, and we don't always specifically, well, okay, we would never use the word review to describe something that's not a review, but we used to explicitly put review in all of our reviews, and we don't anymore. And that's a fair criticism. And honestly, I don't know how to fix it in a way that I'm willing to do. I could put review in the title of every review, but what it ultimately is wasted characters that are going to hurt my SEO and hurt click-through on the video. Because if I put, you'll never believe what this is, and I make this stupid face, for some reason, 30 to 50 to 100% more people click on it. And that's one of the only ways sometimes that we can get people to click on what is a totally honest evaluation of a product that they might be interested in by the time they actually watch the video, but they just didn't know it. And that's so frustrating. Is like, for me, what I would want people to do is say, wow, I love tech and I just want to know about tech, and click on every video we upload, regardless of whether it's a review of a CPU or a graphics card, or like, okay, I did a video today that is going to have a clicky as title because there's just no getting around it, because what I was covering was a compact broadcast 4K camera. And I needed this camera, actually half a dozen of them, because due to COVID restrictions, I can no longer watch my son's badminton tournaments in person. So I missed out on him winning his first tournament. He won doubles in his last tournament. I wasn't there to watch any of his games. And so I was like, well, I'm Linus Tech Tips. I can fix this. So I'm gonna set up their entire gym with a camera on every court, and then all the parents are going to be able to watch all the games. And I gotta pay for those cameras somehow, Luke. I gotta pay for them somehow. So you know what? We gotta.
Legit, actually.
So the video is going to be called "I've never done anything like this before" or something like that, instead of Marshall CV420 or CV420 CS,
and I hate clickbait
camera
just as much as the next guy, but that there's no way I would click on that video.
Marshall review.
I don't care about Marshall MCV camera. I'm never gonna, unless Brandon's face is in it, because I like watching Brandon videos about cameras. But like, that's it.
It's a super cool project, and our viewer retention numbers show that once we can get people to click it, they like the videos. So it's just, from my point of view, as long as the content remains true, as long as we keep our transparency, keep our integrity, I am willing to sacrifice the thumbnails and the titles. I accept it. I don't want it. I don't want that to be the case, but it is what it is. I got another comment from Katya. I stopped watching your MacBook Air unboxing because it was obvious you were still passing some speculation to undermine the product. No, what actually happened was I recorded it almost immediately after my Mac Mini unboxing, and we just can't like upload 2 videos to the channel at exactly the same time because algorithmically it's really bad. Like they'll stomp on each other, and then people will stop getting notifications from you for a bit. So it was delayed. I just really didn't know anything about it yet. So yeah, sorry for that, but there was nothing I could really do about it because we didn't get those products until launch day. If we had had them earlier, I would have been able to upload them both, right away, like maybe 6 hours apart instead of a day apart or whatever it ended up being, because it took time to like edit them.
We don't need to keep going on this topic, and someone, thank you very much to the person that reminded me, but we need to do ad spots soon. But someone in all capitals on I love how the Twitch guys are like, and then the float plane guys are being helpful and reminding us that we need to do the ad spots. But the someone in Twitch in all capital letters said Linus is a flip-flopper. And I know you like addressing that topic, so I wanted to give you that chance, and then we should jump into ad spots right away.
Flip-flopping when new information becomes available is called not being an idiot. If you don't flip-flop when new information comes out, you're a tool. That's all there is to it.
If the new information is counter to what you currently
believe.
Yeah.
Also, there was no flip-flop. I never said it was going to be bad. I literally never said it. Not once. So no, flip-flopping is absolutely what you should do. If there's new information that changes the situation, your first response should be to immediately flip-flop. Immediately. Yeah. Because if you don't, then you're a filthy fanboy. And fanboys are actually the worst people. Sorry. You're like actually everything that's wrong with the world. Tribalism is bad. It's terrible. So reevaluate your life. Reevaluate yourself.
Something that isn't terrible.
Yeah, our sponsors. What do we got here? Oh, wow. We've actually got some new sponsors today. Redux is a PC builder striving to bring PC gaming to the masses. There's no price markup on the parts, just a $75 build fee, and all builds come with a 2-year warranty. Just select your budget, pick your games to see how your system's going to perform in them, and let them build your PC for you. Blah, blah, blah. They only charge a small build fee and they won't cut corners on quality. You can start your build today at buildredux.com/Linus. We checked out one of their systems in a sponsored, not review, in a sponsored video over on Short Circuit. And now that my obligations are fully complete and I've done everything I said I would do, which was open it and look at it on camera, I can tell you exactly what I think. Honestly, looks pretty compelling. I guess, yeah, I can tell you whatever I want about it. It's Digital Storm. So $75 for something built and backed by those guys? Okay. Sounds pretty good to me. I think they're going to have to increase prices at some point. I don't think that's going to last. Then again, I also haven't looked closely at, they say there's no markup on the parts, but I haven't looked at like what the pricing of the parts are. Just because there's no markup doesn't mean that they have the most competitive price on the market, because who would? Nobody has the best price on every single part of some random computer. That's very, very rare. Yeah. That you're not going to find it as, something cheaper on Amazon and something cheaper on Newegg and something cheaper at Micro Center or whatever the case may be. Also brought to you by SteelSeries. Their Aerox 3 Wireless is an ultralight mouse that weighs just 66 grams. 66 grams, my friends. Sounds evil. It has their Quantum Wireless 2.0 for nearly zero latency. It's 2.4 gigahertz and Bluetooth compatible, so if latency is less important to you than compatibility, you can flip over to Bluetooth. It boasts 200 hours of battery life and features USB-C fast charging for 40 hours of battery life in just 15 minutes. Their Aqua Barrier technology gives them IP54 dust and splash resistance. I don't know about you, but my mouse often gets splashed, if you know what I'm saying. And you can go to steelseries.com/Aerox to check out the Aerox 3 wireless today. Look, I'm not expecting SteelSeries to get mad about this. There were literal, hold on a second. There were literal pole dancers at a SteelSeries party at CES that I went to like 9 years ago or whatever. That probably means nothing. Like, nobody I know at SteelSeries is still there, or knew from then at SteelSeries is still there, and nobody I know now was still there then. So like, yeah, whatever. The show is also brought to you by Wondershare Dr. Phone. Dr. Phone provides a seamless way to transfer WhatsApp chats between iOS and Android devices. This has actually been driving me crazy lately. Okay, this is not scripted. This is not because of the sponsor. This has actually been driving me nuts. The fact that it seems like the only way to get it to transfer somewhat seamlessly is to, oh wait, yeah, no, on Android that works. I did run into this problem. So on Android, you have to back up, then sign out, then sign in the other one, then restore. If you don't do it exactly that way and in that order, you'll be missing a bunch of your chats. So you can't just like leave one of them signed in and then like sign in the other one. It will not restore everything. It drives me absolutely bonkers because I switch phones a lot, right? And then with iOS, because on Android, if I recall correctly, it backs up to Google Drive, and then on iOS, I think it backs up to iCloud. It just like can't be imported. So, okay, that's what they do. That's pretty neat. They also support transfers and backups for WhatsApp Business, Line, Viber, Kik, and WeChat. And you can preview and check any item you want and export it to your computer as an HTML file for reading or printing. The program is secure and won't keep, modify, or leak any data on your device or in the backup file, and you can get up to 85% off Dr. Phone until December 2nd. Click the link below to learn more. Pretty sweet. All right. I might have just sold it to myself. How fun is that? What else we got to talk about today? Got some pretty good stuff. You want to talk about the AMD RX 6800 series launch?
Okay,
hit
or
me.
not.
All right, floatplane guy. All right. Tell me what's near and dear to your heart, Luke. Hit me.
Well, we talked, when these cards were coming out, and I think we literally said the only thing they have to do is have product or something along those lines. I don't have the actual quote, but it was like it's got to be close to that, whatever it was we actually said.
Yeah.
Like even if it's not like as competitive as we're hoping, as long as they like can sell it, we'll be fine. We'll be totally fine.
Yeah.
And they responded not necessarily to us, but to the community in general, that we're all having the same concerns. We were not unique in saying this in any way.
Nope.
They responded by essentially saying like, yeah, not going to be a problem. We got this. This launch is going to be way better than the 3000 series. No issues. There'll be tons of cards. You can get what you need, right? Well, turns out that didn't really happen. The launch was much more of a paper launch than anything else. We had big lineups outside of stores of people unable to get things. It seems like several retailers, including Best Buy USA, B&H Photo and Video, which does sell this kind of stuff, and Memory Express in Canada, reported receiving exactly 0, which is awesome, with no indication of when they would be receiving any either. AMD's own site, along with retailers that did have cards such as Newegg and Micro Center, sold out within minutes of sales going live. Of course, unsurprisingly, eBay has a ton. This is in spite of AMD's reassurances that supply would be good. Like I said earlier, they did totally say that. And Anthony even has a note here. This is the one thing they had to get right. And that is legitimately true. Yep. These cards could have been like not even that great, and it still would have been a very successful launch if they at least had them at all. And they did. This
is exactly the kind of marketing bullcrap that drives me crazy.
And we talked about this a lot last show.
All AMD had to say was supplies are going to be really limited. And we would have been like, okay.
At least we know.
Just give us the right expectations. I get
it.
No,
guys. No, we're good.
I get it.
We got tons of cards.
I get it. Like it's there's only so many 7 nanometer like wafers, okay? There's only so much 7 nanometer to go around. And everyone wants it. Everyone wants a piece of the 7 nanometer. I mean, even AMD has competition between their own business units for who gets the 7 nanometer at this point. I'm sure the data center business unit wants it all for, upcoming server chips. And I'm sure the gaming business unit wants to just pump out, or CPU gaming, wants to pump out Ryzen's all day. And I'm sure that the graphics division is like, please, I know we sucked for the last few years, but please, we deserve a chance. And there's, I get it.
And really, unfortunately for them, that was not the only issues. There were some other issues
Microsoft
as well.
and Sony, they want some 7 nanometer. They want some 7 nanometer up in this biz.
They want a lot of 7 nanometer.
Yeah, like I get it. But like, just say that, or just delay it. Just say like, look, we weren't happy with how much stock we had. We delayed it. Fine, I can accept that. That's a good guy, AMD.
Or you can just be honest and just be like, we're not happy with the amount of stock we have, but we want to launch it now. So like, it's going to be tough to get, but we're going to do our best to like try to keep it out of scalpers' hands, which is not entirely possible,
Basically
but we will like, do what
impossible.
we can.
Yeah.
Et cetera, and then just try to move on from there. That's all fine. There were also some issues. Ray tracing performance was abominable. The lack of tensor core equivalence means that fans of NVIDIA's RTX voice and broadcast software will have to stay green for now.
Yep.
Although I haven't heard way too much about RTX voice in a while. Have you?
I mean, you don't really have to hear much about it to know that it's like pretty cool. I don't think it's really changed much.
I don't think it's not cool. I just,
Yeah,
I don't know.
The news is just kind of past, I think.
Yeah.
This is great. Courageous Potato on Floatplane says, now I'm picturing AMD execs playing poker with 7 nanometer wafers. Totally right.
The RTX one is just like strung out at the end of the table. Like, come on, guys, I got to win this game.
I mean, they're worth their weight in gold, basically, right? You think about it. Like,
I mean, probably more than that.
There is no AMD, literally every Ryzen CPU they could possibly make would fly off a shelf right now. Like, the more you can make, the more money you make. You're not constrained by anything else. Marketing, distribution, pricing. You are constrained by how many of these bloody things you can crank off of the production line. And the reality of it is that for everyone out there saying, Intel's doomed, AMD's got them by the balls now, that's something Intel has, for better or for worse, is lots and lots and lots of 14 nanometer wafers.
Whole ton of them, probably more than they want.
So, Intel's going to keep selling CPUs until AMD figures out either a big investment in TSMC so that TSMC can literally build out production that is guaranteed for AMD. Apple has invested heavily in TSMC. It's no accident that Apple got all of the 5 nanometer right out of the gate. Or they're going to have to go back to having their own fabs, which I honestly don't see ever happening again. I just don't think it's I don't think it's possible. NVIDIA showed the world that you can be a top tier chip company without ever owning a fab. And AMD has now shown the world that you can come back from owning your own fabs to right back on top without owning your fabs. So, yep. I think it's just going to be the Samsung TSMC show for the foreseeable future until some of the Chinese fabs that are starting to catch up actually get there. Oh, also Intel and Intel. What else we got? What else is going on here? For those who receive your cards, there are a few niche advantages to look forward to. The reset bug that has long plagued virtualization enthusiasts has been fixed. Oh, that's cool. That was a big problem for us on 7 gamers, 1 CPU. If one of the VMs crashed, I had to restart the entire host machine. And it was really unstable, so it cost me a lot of time, a lot of hair pulled out. Overall support in Linux appears to be solid, and you can enable rage mode for the memes. Anthony notes,
I really love this.
They should add a feature to immediately quit out of a game, like a button on the graphics card, and call it rage quit.
They should. It should have like some animation that comes up, and it should like delete the desktop icon for the game or something.
Or it could still be an overclocking feature, and it could just intentionally overclock your card too far, so the whole system
Just crash you out.
Like, intentionally crash your own computer.
That'd be great.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is like, it's the best time to buy a gaming PC and also the worst time to buy a gaming PC. Like, there is compelling hardware out there. Just good luck getting your hands on any of it.
Yeah.
Like Ryzen 5000, RTX 3080, that sounds pretty flippin' good. Can't get it.
When was the last time we had, I feel like it's been a long time, maybe I'm totally wrong here, but when's the last time we had these types of paper launches?
Oh, wow.
Like, I feel like it's been a super long time.
So in fairness,
where like they're all basically so for people that are like, what are you talking about? When a product is announced, but it like doesn't really exist,
Yeah.
or in this case where it exists, but it's basically only scalpers getting it.
unobtainium.
Yeah, there are some products in the way past which were launched, but like I think literally nothing existed from them. These are not quite that, but
not
still.
since 600 series from NVIDIA, or like a 600 series, if I recall correctly, had pretty good availability and was not so much more compelling than 580 that it was like flying off the shelf to the degree that I suspect RTX 3000 is. I mean, I think there's two things that happened here. One is NVIDIA launched RTX 3000 and made it very, very appealing from a price to performance standpoint. And I think NVIDIA really does have a lot of wafers. They just cannot make enough of these things. Then AMD walked into a bit of an unusual situation for them. One, they had a product that was actually competitive, so that's going to drive demand up. Two, they walked into a marketplace where there's this pent-up demand for a graphics card, any graphics card, because people, you know, their neighbor or friend or gaming buddy or whatever has an RTX 3000 and they're still running some, you know, pleb 780 or 770 that this is the moment. They're ready to pull the trigger and there's nothing to freaking buy. And they would have bought an AMD one and they'll go, if they can find it, they'll go out and do it. And so AMD is walking into two things. They're competitive for the first time in forever. And there's this pent up demand in the market that we haven't seen in forever because people haven't been that excited. New GPUs come and it's like, yeah, well, you can pay more and it's faster. But this is different. Now you're paying less and it's way faster. It's great.
Yeah. And like, I genuinely think a very large amount of people skipped 2000 series. So there's a lot of like enthusiast 1000 series owners that like would normally buy a new card, but then saw 2000 series come out and we're just kind of like,
even
so
1,
now they want something new.
Even 1000, 980 Ti was like, remember how long we were using 900 series cards in like high-end Scrapyard Wars builds and stuff?
Yeah.
Like, they're a good value even now.
Yeah, 1000 series was a pretty nice jump for VR, but if you didn't care about that, yeah, it was kind of eh.
What do we got here? Hey Linus, this has been bothering me. In Secret Shopper Part 1, when you said Yahtzee and took all the chips, were you referring to Studio C's Poker Face? No. I was just trying to come up with the silliest, most irrelevant thing to say when you win at poker. And Yahtzee came to mind, and we actually did many different takes of it with me saying different things, and Yahtzee was the take that ultimately ended up in the video. So there, now you know the backstory behind that one line. All right, what's our next topic for the day? Apple has dropped their App Store fees. Is this in response to Epic? Well, they didn't drop Epic's fees, so I'm gonna go with...
So
yes, but also,
yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. I was gonna say I do think it's actually in response to them, but with a direct jab almost.
Yeah. Want to talk us through this because there's more to this than meets the eye.
Yeah. So when you first read it, it's interesting. This will affect. These are some awesome stats that were put into the doc. This will affect 98% estimated of app developers. But companies like Epic are going to fall into the there's going to be a lot of percentages thrown around. So the 98% is the amount of total app developers on the iOS store. Epic Games falls into the 2 kind of percent of developers that are going to be charged 30%. The 98% of developers are going to be charged 15%. This is very nice for those 98% of developers.
Small developers.
But yes, small developers. And those small developers, those 98% of developers, only make up 5% of the App Store revenue.
Yeah.
So the vast majority of App Store revenue is still going to be at 30%.
So the line is between developers that earn under $1 million annually and developers that earn over $1 million annually. And this is just really interesting insights because now we know that it's 2% of app developers that make up 95% of the revenue on the App Store, and 98% of app developers all making less than $1 million annually that are 98% of App Store developers, all that blah, 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 making up, whatever. So 98% of them make less than $1 million annually. So this is really, really cool for those 98% of developers, even though it's only 5% of App Store revenue, and that kind of gives it a little bit of a womp womp. That's because there are these like super apps essentially that like Fortnite.
Fortnite, Pokemon Go, these apps that an insane amount of people install and an insane amount of people spend tons of money on. That doesn't mean that a 5% section of the App Store is actually a small amount of money. That's still a lot. There's a lot of developers that are thriving and surviving in that 5% category, and them going from a 30% take on Apple side to a 15% take on Apple side is going to be fantastic. Especially because a lot of those if you're in support of those developers, I guess, especially because a lot of those developers are going to be selling things through the App Store that don't cost to produce. They probably have to pay for something else in order to entice those customers, like bandwidth, like development, like whatever else. But the actual item that they are selling, which is very often going to be digital, does not cost to produce. So that's just 15% more money in their pocket, which is fantastic. And they must have already had a model that fit at 30%. So this should just be profit.
Yeah, nice little windfall. Great. To be clear, Luke doesn't mean it doesn't cost to produce. You have to produce it in the first place, even if it's like a cosmetic, a cosmetic jock strap for your little jousting game or whatever. You have to produce it, but it doesn't cost more to replicate it, I guess is another way of putting that.
Better way of saying it. Like delivering that product to the customer is only basically going to have a bandwidth cost. If it's okay, you get to open a loot crate now. Like you don't have to manufacture the items that are in the loot crate.
Yeah, exactly.
So there is like little tiny minuscule bits of cost related to that, but those are not they're not very important in this scenario.
This float plane, right? Can we apply? You got to apply for the program. Apple didn't clarify why you have to apply for the program instead of just automatically enrolling developers. I'm also extremely not
surprised. Although I would suspect that basically everyone is going to be okayed. I'm assuming they want people to apply just so that they have that little bit more control, just in case someone finds some weird loophole that they can try to get through, and Apple will have the ability to be like, no, much more easily. I wouldn't also be too surprised if it takes them forever to go through the application process. And it's like 2 weeks per attempt and they deny you for some stupid junk that takes forever to try to fix. And it's a super annoying process. I can almost guarantee you that's going to be the case.
So why not float plane?
Yeah. So one of the issues here is that at 15%, it might be able to make sense. It's still not great, to be completely honest, compared to a lot of the other payment processors that we have, but we could probably make it make sense. The issue is if we're rocking, and I'm pretty sure this is only based off the iOS store's profits that you make, but if we're rocking and we get to the point where we're now making $1 million through that line of profit, I'm stumbling over my words here because it would immediately be terrible, like absolutely terrible, because jumping that extra 15% would bring us to one of the calculations that we did was just literally zero. We wouldn't make any money at all, but it also wouldn't cost us anything. And that is super terrifyingly bad because we would still have to develop for this platform and just make nothing on it.
Right.
And that it just doesn't make sense for our business model. We have to use these outside processors.
Ladjimer says, just charge a little bit more on the Apple App Store for Floatplane. You can't. They don't let you do that.
There's been some stuff that has changed.
Really?
And I don't remember exactly how it landed out, and I don't want to misquote here, but I believe you can under certain circumstances if you do it properly. But that was, yeah. And there's been a couple examples that people have shared with me of apps that have started doing that. I don't know if that is and I've read an article that was related about how you can go about doing that. I don't know if that's entirely what they want to happen.
Right.
It's a little funky. Could you cap the income? No, that wouldn't work.
So there you go. It's unclear what happens after you exceed $1 million of revenue. If that happens in 2021, whether it's an immediate thing, bracketed, taxable earnings, for example. So if your first million would be at 15%, and then if after that it's at 30% or something like that. But hey, we're definitely gonna look into it and see how that goes. Speaking of things that we're gonna see how it goes, let's see how it goes if people want short circuit long sleeves. So we actually did have more blanks. We had more shirts. So what we decided to do is print the rest of them. I had stopped production last time because I thought the sleeves were too long. So it's still the same long sleeve with very long sleeves from the short circuit 1 million subscriber celebration video. It's exactly the same shirt. The only difference is that now that we know that people will actually buy them, we don't have to just blow them away. So they're $24.99. We increased the price $5. So the early adopters still got a great deal, but we are going to have them back in stock for a little while we continue to work on sourcing our own garments. And hopefully, actually, I guess I can announce this. We hired someone today. We hired a fashion designer who has a lot more experience with materials and pattern making than anyone on our team currently. And the goal is to be able to make very size inclusive garments that are totally custom instead of relying on third parties like Gildan or Canvas or American Apparel or whoever the case may be. So you can go check them out, lttstore.com. Short circuit long sleeves are back. They're back in stock. And what else? Go ahead.
I just want to, there's some comments through Twitch and a few other places where people are trying to tell me how it works on the iOS store and that bits and Twitch subscriptions are more expensive through the iOS store. Trust me, it's a very weird landscape. I've known about the Twitch thing for a while. I don't know if this is the case with the Twitch thing or not, but there is hard evidence that there is special treatment on the App Store for certain companies, for certain groups that play ball in certain ways with Apple.
Yep.
There is even a special thing where if you get your app working properly on, I believe it's Apple TV, you get some special treatment in a few different ways. We've thought about potentially doing that. Us in particular, our app was held off the App Store for, I believe, close to half a year. And when I finally got on the phone with them, it was admitted that all of the reasons that were claimed for why our app was held off the App Store for almost half a year were just not true, and that we had followed all their rules every time. And the guy on the phone was like, yeah, I don't know, but your app's live now. And I'm like, cool.
Thanks.
So how things work is not, the set of rules is extremely unclear. What you have to do is make the person who's reviewing your app happy. That's the rules, essentially. So
pretty sweet.
It's been an extremely, extremely frustrating process to release our app on the App Store.
Google Play
and
Store's been all right.
we are concerned about getting ourselves into a place again where they might just deny our app for half a year.
Yeah.
Because the app can become essentially non-functional due to updates that happen for the rest of the platform that you might have to hold back on, or else you might break the iOS app that you can't update, or you might just have to release that update because the platform needs it, but the iOS platform or the iOS app might just essentially not even work anymore. You can't see different types of content, etc. Which it puts you in a really terrible place, and it's extremely uncomfortable and extremely frustrating. So we try to be very, very careful about not pissing them off.
Someone asked for an update. Flint165 over on Floatplane asked for an update on the mouse pad. The mouse pad just got delayed by 2 weeks due to COVID shipping delays, so nothing we can do about it. We're still hoping people are going to be able to get them by Christmas if they order right away, but I don't want to guarantee anything at this point. I also had a comment that I wanted to read over on YouTube. I think it went away, unfortunately. It eventually scrolls on its own, and it looks like it went too far away, and I don't remember what it was. So, sorry you missed out. I had really wanted to respond to that. It was really stupid. Oh well, you didn't get called out. What else we got? No one is safe. YouTube is adding more ads. They have updated their terms of service, and it includes a new section that gives it the right to monetize videos from channels that are not yet big enough to be part of the partner program. But
Can I throw a hot take in here before
Sure.
we go? I have always been astonished that this wasn't a thing.
I know, right?
I am certain people are going to be super pissed about this, but the entire time YouTube has existed, I have been stunned that this isn't how it has worked.
Why wouldn't they want to run ads on videos that they don't have to share the revenue on? Makes perfect sense to me. Run all the best ads on those ones.
And you would start giving people like a profit share sort of that started really blowing up on the platform because you want them to stay. Like it all makes sense. It's been very confusing as to why they don't do this. So like, yeah, it sucks. I don't want ads on everything on YouTube necessarily either, but like super not surprised.
Well, no, they're not. That's not what they're doing. They're not giving the person any of the money.
Oh, no, but they're running ads. Sorry, did I phrase that incorrectly?
Oh.
But they're running ads on essentially.
Yeah. And then they're just
well, not necessarily everything, but definitely things that would fall under ad-friendly guidelines.
Yeah. So they basically, instead of taking, I forget if it's 70-30 or 60-40, instead of taking just part of the revenue, YouTube gets to take all of it. So to become eligible for the partner program, you need 4,000 public watch hours in the last 12 months and over 1,000 subscribers. So this would be just like any like random video. I would be surprised if this actually has a meaningful impact on how much ad inventory is available for like full-time YouTubers. But I also worry when something like this comes into place where there's a clear conflict of interest. What would prevent YouTube from preferring to self-deal rather than preferring to share with their partners, as we are called, YouTube Partner Program?
I definitely hear where you're coming from. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen. And I think that would be pretty trackable. So if it does, and maybe the great machine that runs YouTube that the YouTube developers don't even fully understand, blah, 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 maybe it will just automatically start doing that because it's like, hey, more money. But I feel like if there was intention behind that, they would get called out very quickly.
I seriously doubt that we would have any. I seriously doubt that we would have any tools that would give us any transparency into this. Like
fill rates.
I mean,
measure fill rates. So like if people could get roughly accurate estimations of fill rates based on like some massive amount of views.
They're all over the place though. So like a bunch of us would have to collude and see if we all dipped at the same time, for example. Right. And I'm sure there are groups that do that, but I'm not one of the cool kids. So I'm not in any of those groups.
Something interesting too about to become eligible for YPP or YouTube Partner Program, you need 4,000 public watch hours in the last 12 months and over 1,000 subscribers, like you just mentioned. That line is pretty important. There's there's a few different YouTubers. I believe one of them was Dream, the Minecraft speedrunning guy. I think he's one of them, but sorry if I'm totally misquoting that. Where he had one video that just absolutely exploded, but it was before he was in the partnership program. So it got like millions of views.
Oh, ouch.
But he made like nothing off of that video.
Yeah, that's kind of brutal.
And then had to like get into the partnership program before he could start making money. But by the time that he had done that,
15 minutes of fame over.
Well, I mean, he's a massive YouTuber, but
oh, okay, never mind.
Sure he's doing fine now, but it's like, you know, it's rough. I don't know what the search term would be for me to try to find this, but like it has happened with a non-trivial amount of YouTubers, and it kind of makes sense. You might release a bunch of videos that don't get anywhere near that, and then you release one video that like really blows up and potentially starts your career. If you can capture even 10% of the people that came to that video, you might be able to have a career, right? This has happened quite a number of times.
Totally.
But you might make nothing off of that one massive video that you released, which might be worth a huge amount. Like it's an interesting setup. And again, plays very benefits YouTube a lot.
Yeah, definitely. All right, what do you think of the Oppo extending phone? I mean, is this something people are actually asking for? Here we go. What? You know, it's kind of more elegant than the Fold. Got that rolling display.
One quick sec.
I'd have to use an Oppo phone though. Man, I wish all Oppo devices just ran Oxygen OS like their OnePlus subsidiary. That would be so much better.
Okay, sorry. I was listening to Dream's video for a second. It was Dream. He released a video in 2019 that got 7 million views, so I'm sure he's doing fine. But it was talking about how he had released 4 videos that combined to over 2 million views, and across those 4 videos, he made $0. And I believe the conclusion, and I haven't watched the whole video this second, but I believe the conclusion was that he wasn't in the partnership program yet.
Got it.
But yeah, he's definitely doing fine. He gets a lot of views. But sorry, the extending phone.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Man, it's definitely... So the problem with the Fold is that it's real chunky in the pocket. I don't know. I could... If I didn't have to use Oppo's Android skin, I think I'd be way more into it. Way more into it. Yeah,
it's interesting. It's one of those devices where I feel like I really wouldn't be surprised if this was, and I think we talked about this with folding phones too, but I really wouldn't be this surprised at all if this was like the direction things were going in.
No, yeah, totally.
And they like would be awesome at some point. I think the concept of it is very cool, especially once they get like super slick and integrated. And this one actually like looks pretty nice, to be completely honest, but still.
But software. So get this. It uses their roll motor powertrain to expand the display from 6.7 to a maximum of 7.4 inches, but it can also go anywhere in between. How are developers going to optimize their apps for this thing? Like the Fold is already a disaster and it only has 2 screen form factors. Apparently it has no kinks or visible folds in the display. That's pretty cool. And the arc allows the display to roll back without any visible folds. Yep, since the rollable display isn't as rigid, the device has a 2-in-1 plate that supports the display from the inside. This thing looks flippin' cool from a hardware perspective. I'm very, very worried about the software. I think it's gonna probably suck.
Oh yeah.
It might not. It might be the one time it didn't suck, but if Samsung can't do it, I find it hard to believe that Oppo is going to do a better job. And the experience on the Fold really is a degraded one. It's not as good as just running a normal Android phone. You know, Instagram looks weird, YouTube Stories doesn't work, and those are things that affect me every day.
Yep.
And I think that's pretty much it. Oh, no, one more announcement. Intel PC Tech Support Challenge number 2 is coming. RGB Edition is happening on November 24th. That is Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I am co-hosting with Dimitri from Hardware Canucks, and Christopher Yee is going to be going up against the Toasty Bros. During the stream, Intel will be giving away 200 units of the special edition 10th Gen Core i9-10900K, plus a cryo cooler from Cooler Master to go with it. So don't miss it. It'll be streaming to Floatplane, YouTube, and Twitch. And I remember what that stupid comment that I saw was. Someone was like, this is an actual response from LMG about why they don't do giveaways internationally. It's because it's really challenging. Well, challenging doesn't mean impossible, Linus. You got to have more respect. It has nothing to do with respect. It has everything to do with the laws around international giveaways being extremely complicated and difficult and or impossible to adhere to. There are
a non-trivial amount of companies that do international giveaways don't know about the issues and are just going to get clobbered if it ever comes up.
And maybe it won't, but maybe it will. So it is what it is. It is not a company's fault. For example, in Quebec, it is not a company's fault for not running their giveaway in Quebec. Quebec's laws around giveaways are completely ridiculous. They make no sense, and they make it pretty much impossible for the people that live there to win stuff. Oh, got to do super chats. So deal with the law then, says this person. Are you actually this stupid? Like, I actually can't tell. I'm very sorry, but I think you might actually be this stupid. Do you have any idea how many countries, and then within those countries, how many jurisdictions there are? Do you have any idea how many people's full-time job it would be to give away a computer? And get this, once you won it, do you know that in many places you would be obligated to pay import duties and taxes on the item? So you could basically win. If you want a computer, you could win a $500 bill. It's like, well, okay. And it might not even be able to get there. There's plenty of places we can't even reliably ship things to. So no, it's not just figure it out. It just like actually is not going to be a thing. It has nothing to do with respect. You just... Someone in Floatplane chat said, as a Quebecer, I agree with you. Jonathan Soko says, wow, Linus is disrespecting the people that pay his rent. Wow. No, I'm just dishing out a cold, hard fact. If you don't understand how like international laws work, then don't comment on them. It's that simple.
Also, the guy that says, I'm bleeping Linus Tech Tips doesn't pay rent.
Well, I did not personally, but commercial real estate.
Oh,
that's a thing, dog. That's a thing.
And responsible for.
That's a thing.
Not really. I think it's responsible for isn't the right term.
Now I think people are memeing. The result
of other people's.
Now everybody's memeing.
Sure
They're like, wait, you disrespect me. You disrespect me. Pay your rent. You disrespect me. Oh,
what's that?
I love you guys. You guys are great.
Snipe you out of the world with precision.
Oh my gosh, that copy pasta?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't remember exactly how it goes.
Hold on a second. Sniper copy pasta. That's one of my favorites. Navy SEAL copy pasta. What the did you just say? Oh no, hold on. What the did you just say about me, you little I'll have you know I graduated top of my class in the Navy SEALs, and I've been involved in numerous secret raids on Al-Qaeda, and I have over 300 confirmed kills. I am trained in guerrilla, like that kind, warfare, and I'm the top sniper in the entire U.S. Armed Forces. You are nothing to me but another target. I will wipe you the out with the precision, the likes of which you've never seen before on this earth. Mark my words. You think you can get away with saying that to me over the internet? Think again. As we speak, I am contacting my secret network of spies across the USA, and your IP is being traced right now, so you better prepare for the storm, maggot. The storm that wipes out the pathetic little thing you call your life. You are dead, kid. I can be anywhere, anytime, and I can kill you in over 700 ways, and that's just with my bare hands. Not only am I extensively trained in unarmed combat, but I have access to the entire arsenal of the United States Marine Corps, and I will use it to its full extent to wipe your miserable ass off the face of the continent, you little If only you had known what unholy retribution your little clever comment was about to bring down upon you, maybe you would have held your tongue, but you couldn't, you didn't, and now you're paying the price. You I'm idiot. I will shit fury all over you. I forgot to bleep that one. You're dead, kiddo.
Someone in Twitch chat was just like, Linus, please don't hurt my family. Okay, so
man.
I'm getting requests from all over the place to talk about the user benchmark thing.
Oh, that's right. We were going to talk about that. Why is that not in the doc?
Don't know.
It was supposed to be copied over.
Yeah.
Oh, man. User benchmark thing. There it is. Reuse for next week. It's just scroll down to, I don't know, page whatever this is. It's 16, 17, somewhere in there. 16. All right.
Okay.
So, blah, blah, blah. Ryzen 5950X versus 10900K. Here's my display capture. Oh, that's not very centered. So, there we go. All right. So, theoretically, the 10900K is like better or something than the 5950X, which anyone who knows anything knows is not accurate. But user benchmark is basically crap. I remember this was great. Was it user benchmark or real bench? I don't remember. I think it might have been user benchmark. I got called out of touch for not using sites like user benchmark. I'm pretty sure it was user benchmark. I could be wrong. I got called out of touch because I just have access to all this stuff and I can test it for myself. You're out of touch if you like look down on that. No, I look down on it because it's utterly useless, completely meaningless and worthless. The way that you find out how things perform relative to each other, if you don't have access to all of them, is you cross-reference multiple reviews and multiple evaluations. You do not use sites like user benchmark because, well, in this case, you can see that their scoring can be extremely questionable and you have no control over what people are submitting to them. So User Benchmark has hundreds of thousands of benchmark submissions in its database that influence the purchasing decisions of nearly 10 million visitors each month, according to SimilarWeb. The synthetic benchmark found itself banned from numerous important tech-related subreddits, but remains one of the most widely visited processor testing sites. Apparently, the Ryzen 9 5950X was not enough to overtake the 10900K or the 9900KS, apparently. If there was some score weighting based on price, then it would be understandable, as it is possible to get a 10900K for around $540, whereas AMD's rival is a pricey $799. But while the site insists it is not affiliated with any company, once again, it has grown defensive regarding its skewed scoring system. This is a great quote. AMD fans continue to smear User Benchmark via an army of anonymous accounts on Reddit, YouTube, and forums, which they kind of were asking for, considering they called AMD fans an organized army of shills, which, I mean, well, maybe that's one thing I can see both sides of in this dispute.
Sometimes when you're right, you still probably just shouldn't say it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is like you just shouldn't be a fan of a company because you're already dumb. Like, you can't get the right answer by asking the wrong question. The wrong question is, which tech company should I be a fan of? Which one should I evangelize and root for? There's no right answer because that's a dumb question. So anyway, this should serve as a friendly reminder to fact check your information, cross-reference sources, especially when you are plunking down a big chunk of change on hardware. Is this the final nail in the coffin for User Benchmark? I don't know, because I haven't paid attention to it ever, because it was always stupid. So there you go. You're welcome. Yay! We should probably do some, man, I'm sorry, I'm feeling spicy today. You know, I was even thinking, maybe I should just people loved Dave 2D's chill attitude. And I was like, yeah, maybe I could learn something from Dave 2D about how to, be chill and just, relax and chill. Then I got 5 times more amped up today than I was before. So, oh well. Super chats that people send for whatever reason, even though I totally don't need their 20 New Zealand dollars, Ryan Brown. Ilya says, today is the 1-year anniversary of the 22nd most viewed video in LTT history. When will you hire her? She did apply for one of the new positions. And
really?
I'm not hiring her for that position, which I haven't told her yet. So if she's watching this will be the first she's heard of that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we will never hire her. Well, she wasn't the most qualified candidate, unfortunately. So that's just the way it is.
Makes sense.
Robert Mail says, not sure how much of a YouTuber boomer you are, but Jib Jab is apparently coming back for 2020. I do not know what Jib Jab is. Apparently.
Not enough of a boomer? I don't even know.
Ryan Brown says, Linus, say Bic quits. I don't know why Ryan
Don't.
wanted me to say that. That's weird. Ilya says, hashtag hire Madison. I'm not saying no, I'm just not saying yes there.
So, pro tip, never say anything anyone ever tells you to say on a live stream.
Yeah, fair enough.
I actually can't figure out what that would be, but just in case in the future.
Jonah says, please ask Dbrand to stop cursing on my Christian Twitter timeline. I could ask them, but like, it's Dbrand.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Vitor says, thoughts on AMD and maybe Intel going consumer ARM in the next few years following Apple? Well, okay, you said consumer. That's a good point because AMD has actually had ARM-based server chips in the past. Man, it would be a big move for Intel to swallow their pride and say x86 isn't the right answer to everything. Like, they have been so hardcore down that path, whether it's Atom or what, I forget what their x86 mobile CPUs, were they Atom branded? I can't remember, but they've tried to scale down x86 to be competitive with ARM so many times. They failed so many times. You never know. You never know. I mean, I would be interested to see what kind of ideas Intel could bring to the table with an ARM design, with an ARM license. I mean, they might have to license it from NVIDIA by that time. I actually don't know. Intel probably has an ARM license, actually. Intel ARM license. I'd be shocked if they don't. 1998. Yeah, okay. Produce, sell, and blah, 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 cross-license, something. I don't know what kind of ARM license they have. Intel, we have an ARM license, no plans to use it as of May 17th, 2011. There's just not a ton of news regarding Intel and ARM. If anything was going to happen soon, I would expect it to have happened already. As for AMD, they are less uncompetitive. I mean, if you look at the numbers on Anantak's excellent article on M1 Performance, their Zen 2 based chips are already really not that far off, if only they could make enough of them. And you got to remember that AMD is on 7 nanometer compared to Apple being on 5 nanometer, both from TSMC. So if AMD got, well, nodes worth of improvement out of moving to 5 nanometer, it's not impossible that they would be pretty darn competitive. As for the power consumption, that I don't know. That we're going to have to wait and see how it goes. But Zen 3 looks like it should be very competitive, and then I don't know what it's going to be called when AMD goes 5 nanometer. I don't know if that's Zen 4. I haven't looked at like any leaked roadmaps lately, but we'll just have to kind of see how it goes. Jeremy says, I really liked the General Fusion video a few years ago. Any chance we can get a follow-up or other sustainable tech videos? I love that kind of stuff. It's tough. We can't travel right now. We actually had a really cool thing that we wanted to do with like someone like bought a dam and they were using it to like mine crypto or something. And it was like, we were going to go look at the facility and then, it didn't, I don't know. Dave says, hey guys, had to replace my PS4 Pro and bought a PS5 off eBay for £640, which I think is a good price considering the prices on there. I mean, I would just wait till after Christmas. After Christmas, pricing's going to plummet.
On consoles? You think so?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is the Christmas rush. Everyone wants to have it for the holiday.
Oh, you mean in terms of like scalping?
Yeah.
Yeah, people in various chats are saying don't buy from scalpers, don't enable scalpers. I know I'm going to change a grand total of 0 people's minds with this, but I would definitely also say that just wait, you'll be fine. Honestly, the launch titles aren't even that cool.
Can I play devil's advocate? Can I play devil's advocate?
Yeah.
A scalper saved my Christmas in 1994. When I was 8 years old, my aunt got robbed in the week leading up to Christmas. And my Super Nintendo, which she had obtained for me, was stolen. So what she did to save my Christmas, my 8-year-old boy Christmas, was she went out, she bought a Super Nintendo from a scalper. She overpaid for it, but at the end of the day, I got my Super Nintendo and those other kids who didn't get one.
I would say in that
Did I have
scenario,
you till the end? Did I have you till the end?
you did,
All
yeah.
right.
I would say in that scenario, just like print off a picture of it and put it on a box and just be like,
Nah, dog.
and
I played
put like an IOU on there or
I
something.
played Super Mario World on December 25th, 1994. So like, suck it. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say about that.
I've probably told you this story. Do you know the story of the Xbox that my parents got us?
I know. Yeah, I've heard it, but I don't remember the details right now.
We're at my grandparents' place for Christmas, and I have no idea how they were able to afford it. But my parents got us an Xbox and they got us Halo, and I was like particularly so stoked about Halo 1. And like Microsoft releasing a console, and I was like researching it like crazy. I didn't think there was a way in hell we were getting one for Christmas. I didn't think that was a possibility in the slightest, but they somehow made it happen. But my dad, in secret, told my brother and I that the big box that was over top of the box that had those things, because he had like laid them out nicely on the floors, they were like nicely presented, and then put a box on top of them. So it didn't look like an Xbox at all. It was this really big box. He told us it was a crystal ball for our mom.
What?
Why we believed that in the slightest,
Yeah,
I
that's
have
the
no
stupidest
idea.
story ever.
But he told us that it was super cool and that we should try to stop anyone from, because we do this thing usually where people like pick the present that should be opened next.
It. Yeah, sure.
Well, no, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like the person who just received a present picks what present should be open for the next person, kind of usually, or it's something. We change it sort of every year, but I think that's what was going on that year. So my brother and I were like very intently not allowing anyone to pick this present because we thought it was for our mom. And then if I remember correctly, my brother and I like opened it together to show it to mom, and we're not looking at the console.
You literally opened up an Xbox and didn't know it.
Yeah,
I love it.
That was quite the Christmas. That was I remember the N64 and the Xbox were both like, holy crap, this is amazing.
Oh man. Ricky Bobby says $35 super chat, and all I got was this lttstore.com t-shirt. Thanks for that. What else we got here? Theorica says channel super fun, or even the main channel. Mac Mini ingest stations, laser cutter. Live up to your perceived Apple hating self. Make a bit of money. You're welcome. I have no idea what this comment meant.
Also, I might have gotten parts of that story wrong.
Oh, Theorica wants me to use the laser cutter to cut up the Mac Mini ingest stations on channel Super Fun. I would never do that. No. I talked about how we've switched away from them. The Brandon and David complained. Andy was okay with them, but Brandon and David didn't like them. It wasn't worth the extra speed for them. So we're not using them anymore. So I was saying I should flip them or something in a float plane tour of some of the changes around the office. We actually just swapped them out. I didn't even know they were mad about it. So it shows you how removed I am from some of the day-to-day stuff. Like I remember I used to build, every workstation and every ingest station personally and like troubleshoot them. And now it's just like, oh, sorry, what? There's a different computer there. All right. Thanks, Jeremy Tienza. Thanks, Abhishek. My Shanti says this is some next level tinfoil hat stuff. I think Apple used unlabeled graphs on purpose to get the tech community to make content doubting the M1 and then put content out again when it turned out to be not what they thought to get double the exposure. I actually don't think that's their game.
I think they were going to get double the exposure anyways.
Yeah. Oh man. Kinestic asks, with the light gray short circuit shirt, are there any different colored hardware shirts on the way? Absolutely, but it's going to take time. The new fashion designer just got hired today, and we need her to work on custom garments because we can't do it. Alex Usman asks, could we compare M1 chips to Ryzen Hackintosh if possible in the future? I don't know how applicable that comparison is until we get M1 based desktops. Well, okay, technically we do have the Mac Mini, but like, I'd want something that's more positioned to go up against like a Ryzen 5000 before I make that comparison. Hey, it's J07. All right, that's pretty much it for the WAN show today. Thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. We'll see you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Bye. Any update on mouse pads? Quick, before you go. Barrington's wondering.
Yeah, they're going to be late. They're going to be like mid-December, early December to mid-December. They were delayed because like trains are not running right now and stuff, apparently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
What?
it's like it's a whole thing. COVID. There's new lockdowns in BC as of yesterday.
But they stopped freight trains?
I don't know why they're not running, but something COVID something. And like apparently all the shipments are coming in through like Prince George or Prince Rupert. One of the Prince towns in northern BC. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Oof.
All right.
I've seen this.
Done now?
Oh, not quite. It's just rolling. I've seen this copy pasta a couple times, but it's sort of funny in the context of us because it leads to the imagination who's who. I love you guys, but in the end, I ain't ever seen two pretty best friends. Always one of them has to be ugly. Ouch. All right. See you later.
Bye.
And